Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us. Welcome to the Why Does My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met at a training, and our secret sauce is that we and our partners became fast friends. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for couples therapy. If something you hear in this podcast stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com to leave a question of your own. Here's today's question.
Hey, welcome back. This is Jules.
This is Vicky.
And this is Rebecca. And we are back here again for our mini-series with the lovely Anne Kelly, one of the amazing hosts over at the Therapist Uncensored podcast and one of the authors of the new book, Secure Relating. Welcome, Anne.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
So good to have you back with us.
Yeah, I was going to say, so excited to have you.
Yeah.
So that first one was so fun. I'm excited to do another.
Yeah.
You guys are
We have a
wonderful.
great
Yay.
question today.
Oh my God, I love
let's
this
do it.
question. Should I read it to us? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this listener writes, I love your podcast. I'm a 62 divorced single cis female, and I'm putting myself out there to date. So that's where my interest is. I'd love to hear your advice on early relationship building and red flags. Thanks. This
What a
question
fun
makes me
question.
giddy.
That's an exciting question. There's so much to it that's exciting that she's ready to put herself out there and she's thinking about it and
Mm-hmm.
excited, a little
Ready to
nervous.
explore that again.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when we've been hurt, we're looking for, ooh, what should I be looking out for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be red flags. And what should I be doing to support a relationship that could be really intentional and
Yes.
go somewhere? Yeah.
And I just want to slow us down and name right there that even in that, like, what should I be doing? What could I be doing? There's something delicious just in that space, just
Oh,
in the
yeah.
space of like wondering.
Mm-hmm.
And even more
I
than
love
any advice that we're going to give, and we'll give advice, but even more than any of that, I think that wondering like offers a beautiful trailhead for some delicious work.
So true.
I also think it's wonderful that you're even saying that, Rebecca, because I didn't call it red flags. I had a list of like non-negotiables that my husband had to be, but they were red flags. It was based on previous relationships where I'd been hurt. And I got teased by like every single person on the planet that I knew. And people, the list was not secret. So people would see the list, they're like, this guy doesn't exist. And your expectations are too high. They were really low expectations, by the way. And Gabriel meets every single one of them.
I was going to say, wait a second. You made the list, and doesn't your husband meet all of the criteria on the list?
Yes.
And tell me, Vicky, has that worked out well for you?
It's worked out well, and that we're very happy.
See, there you go.
It did not resolve every possible conflict we would ever have. So I didn't know what you
Were
meant
you
by how was it
hoping-
working
were you-
for you.
Wait, were you hoping it would? You were, weren't you?
yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Why don't we all? We're going to fix all the problems in our next election, aren't we?
Well, here's what I knew would happen. The issues I'd had in previous dating would not come up again. Because like the biggest stuff with him was around religion. And Gabe and I are the same religion. So like, yeah, there were reasons that I had it that way. But it like warmed me, Rebecca, to hear you like talking about the positives. Well, to hear all three of you even mentioning how great this question is, because I was like, where were you guys when I had my own red flags and I got teased for them? So I do think it's awesome when people are aware. I read this question as almost more she's looking for not subliminal, but like more nuanced red flags. Like I don't see that she's reading it as like the obvious ones that I had of like non-smoking. Like that was really on my list. So I think it's good to know the like concrete things that you know. And then, yeah, I agree. Good for her that she's looking at like, what are the more nuanced things? How am I going to avoid every single fight? Like, I don't think that's what she's saying.
No, in fact, when I think about intentionally building early relationship, I actually think about being careful not to avoid conflict.
I like that. I like it too.
Actually, we've done a mini series on this.
Yes,
Look back on it if you need to. Discord
Builds trust.
It does. It does.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
That's so good. So you're not like, but I love the question. Are you trying to avoid all conflict? Because I think when we're divorced, right? That is like, I don't want to do that again.
Totally.
So it makes so much sense that you would be thinking that.
It's
But
so
I think one of the
important,
things I thought of-
especially early, to know like how do we
Oh,
rumble
yeah.
when something
Yeah,
doesn't
more.
feel okay? How do we move through that, and how do we take care of ourselves and each other? Can we trust ourselves to rumble with care?
Oh, yeah.
And that feels so important too, because when it comes to building trust in a relationship, trusting that we could have differences, that we could have a disagreement, that we could have a little rumbly moment, and that we could treat each other well during it, and that we could come back together into peace, into expansion, and that rumble didn't taint something in a permanent way is part of the building trust, that we could handle hard things together.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes when we're in early dating, we can get to this space where we maybe don't say some of the stuff that's on our minds because we're wanting to avoid conflict. So when you're thinking about early relationship building, what I would say is don't be afraid to be you. And if rumbles happen and conflict happens, then that's going to give you a lot of information. And assuming you all make it through those early moments, who could help you actually expand and build trust
Totally.
as you're building this new thing.
I'm thinking too.
You know what's so,
Yeah, go ahead, Anne. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what's so interesting is you say that because every bit of what you just said I agree with, and yet I had this but in my head.
Tell me the
Share
but.
that. Yeah.
And I'm wanting to know if it was a cute one.
Of course you were.
I think what I'm thinking of is that when we're in the early stages of relationships, what sometimes can happen is, we're full of all sorts of, we're actually on heroin, right? We are so full of the good flowing oxytocin and serotonin and excitement. So we've got all this going in our body that sometimes when we are having conflict, we dismiss it and we don't listen to it too.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
I think there's the risk of the other side. There's a risk of, I can't have any conflict. And I love what you were saying. So I agreed with everything. But the thought was,
We love both and here.
Glorious.
Yeah.
because it is definitely both and. It's like this thing about, wait, we have to also remember that at the beginning of a relationship, we so idealize somebody and we
Totally.
so want that. And in that, when we idolize them, we tend to like lose ourselves also.
Yeah.
And like, so maybe we're having these, like she was saying, like, what are some early warning signs? And I think how we've conflict is so important, but it's so easy to ignore early signs because we're like, oh, this is just, this is fine. And What do y'all think?
Yeah, it's kind of like
I think that's a good point.
it's less like there are specific red flags and more like the red
Yeah.
flag is when we're not paying attention to something that's happening internally or we're dismissing part of our experience.
Yeah.
And I think there's something
Yeah.
really interesting in this question too. I just really want to name that goes with this. And that I think it's what excites me about this question. I think dating at 62, I'm imagining, I'm 49 right now, so I don't know what it's like to date at 62. But I'm imagining that dating at 62 is really different than dating at 20 or 30 something.
Yeah.
Right? That you have a
Mhm.
different lived experience. You have a different self-knowledge. You know who the F you are in a different way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so
And
true.
it's like,
Mhm.
if you could sit in that self-knowledge
Seriously.
while you go into
Yeah.
dating, right? You're not like at 20 something, at 30 something when you're dating, you're still figuring you out and figuring you out in
Yeah.
mirror with another person. But at
Mhm.
62, you
That's so
know
true.
some stuff. You know who you are. You know what feels good to you.
Mhm. And you don't want to, and you really know what you don't, like you were saying, Vicki, I know you're not
Yeah.
at that age, but when you were saying, like, you don't want to have, you can see some of the conflicts, like religion and those overt
Mhm.
things. And instead of going, oh, that's okay, I'm just going to ignore that, we'll figure it out. You're going to be smart enough to go, no, I want somebody who at least has these similar beliefs and doesn't smoke and these things. And I'm not going to compromise that. Yeah, I think at 62, you're
Mhm.
not as willing to let go of yourself as you are when you're younger.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
makes me think of, okay, what are the red flags? What are the subtle red flags? And one of them would be major value system clashes.
Mhm.
So you do know
Yeah.
yourself. And
Mhm.
I wonder if this person you're dating knows themselves.
Mhm.
And can you all have some of those discoveries together about,
Yeah.
oh, our value systems don't have to be identical, but are they aligned enough
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
is
Those
gonna,
things don't just go away.
right?
They,
That's true.
I mean, you can kick it down the line as far as you want, but they really don't go away.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I've seen it.
Mhm.
I actually haven't seen that stuff show up in my office. I've seen that in my personal life many, many times.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
people do need to tune into that. Like, Jules, I agree with you. You don't have to be identical,
Mhm.
but like
Yeah.
aligned enough.
Aligned enough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
aligned enough, and
we
when
all
you rumble,
change.
it goes well. Like what you were saying earlier, I love what you're
Yeah.
like. The part about if you rumble, you're going to have rumbles. And then how do those rumbles go? Like, does it
Mhm.
feel like you're collaborating? To me, a red sign is when you can't rumble well,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you get
Mhm.
cut off or you get disconnected, and especially just, once we get pretty set in our 60s, we kind of have some patterns that are pretty ingrained. And how do you rumble? And for me, the big word for me is collaboration.
Totally.
Do you
Mhm.
feel like when you're with somebody that they're willing to collaborate rather than kind of power over, power under?
Yeah.
That would be
Mhm.
one
Yeah.
of my red signs, like my red flags.
We hope you're all enjoying this mini series with our special guest, Ann Kelly from the Therapist Uncensored podcast, and also one of the authors of the new book, Secure Relating, Holding Your Own in an Insecure World.
You can find that book wherever your books are sold, and we're so excited to have her here. We hope you are enjoying her weighing in on your questions, and make sure you check out her book, Secure Relating.
I was thinking about listening, right? Like, is this
Uh-huh.
someone that can listen? Or is this someone that you're able to listen to and be influenced by? Can it go in both directions? And I think that also is collaboration, right?
Mhm.
That's moving towards a
Mhm.
more
Oh,
power with
yeah.
kind of way of being. But if you're with someone and listening is tough, that's information.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. I was thinking too about when you're looking for, what would a collaborative rumble feel like?
Mhm.
It probably
Mhm.
feels more like we are a partnership tackling a problem together rather than we are in conflict with each other, trying to change each other
Mhm.
or trying to um
Be right.
yeah, like the
Mhm.
naming the other person as a problem would not be collaborative. It's
Mhm.
more
Yes.
like we're partners working through a hard moment together, and the hard moment is the problem, not each other.
Right.
So I'd look out for that. The other
That's a
thought
good
I was having is accountability. How accountable are they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If we all make mistakes, you're going to make lots, they're going to make lots. That's just life. Can we repair? Can we take ownership of it? Can we name a little bit about what maybe went wrong or what drove that inside? Or can we say sorry? So many
Mhm.
people can't. So
Yeah.
That's so true.
I'm sorry, because Gabe used to be one of those. That's why I say it like that. And he absolutely does now. Absolutely. But for like the first 10 years, I think he didn't. And we got through it. So I'm not gonna say it was well, okay, it wasn't a deal breaker and it wouldn't have been. But I didn't know how much he didn't until much like we were already married and stuff. That didn't show up when we were dating. So whether it was red flag or not would have been irrelevant because I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I don't know if
it
it would-
sucks.
Yeah, that would suck, but I don't even know. I can see like you are looking for these really deep values needed to align, but we're never going to find anybody that doesn't have some of that old attachment, implicit history
Yeah.
that blocks us,
Mhm.
right? Like, because actually, honestly, having a difficult time saying I'm sorry has a lot to do with more than our nervous system than
Yeah.
our knowledge.
Yes, say more.
Yes.
Ooh, yes. Stretch that out.
Well,
There, because I think the two things that are sticking out for me when you say that, and one is, oh, okay, this could be an early learning pattern. And two, earned
Yeah.
secure is a real possibility. So there's a lot of hope, even if somebody has difficulty around. So could you talk a
Actually,
little
it's
bit
so
about
true.
both those?
Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing, Vicki, you experience is like part of saying I'm sorry is a level of vulnerability that you have to really acknowledge in your own body that you did something. And some of us, especially those who, well, all of us can struggle sometimes acknowledging when we've done something, depending on what our history is, right? I mean, just what we've done too. But if we've been raised that we need to kind of be perfect or that we kind of always have to know the answer, and if we, again, both leaning blue or red, you can have a hard time saying I'm sorry, but
Mhm.
leaning blue, you have a little bit harder time sometimes because there's underlying shame that gets attached. And so, but it's unconscious. It's unconscious. You don't know that you're feeling shame. So to actually say the word brings some threat in your body, and it's a very deep level of intimacy. And what I love about your story is like you held tight to that was important, but you didn't just see that and go run. I would hate to think anytime you see something in somebody, you're like, this isn't going to be the right relationship. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somebody like he moved. That's like he had secure relating conversations or secure. And then that's what I love about relationships. We actually heal and move our body in relationships. We don't need to find the perfect person. We need to find somebody that's willing to grow with us.
Totally,
Say it
totally.
again.
I love that.
Say it
We need to
again.
find someone who's willing to grow with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so to me, the biggest red sign would be somebody that is like, I'm all done. I'm so good. Like, and it's like really feels like that they're a done deal. And that if they've made a mistake, that's really, which is different. Saying I'm sorry, having a hard time saying I'm sorry doesn't mean that they don't self-reflect. And like, right. And so
Great point.
to me, the biggest sign is if somebody hasn't spent and doesn't see the need for ever to self-reflect. That would be my biggest red flag, I think, for me.
I love that red flag.
Can they
That's a
watch
good
their
one.
own mind? Are they
Yeah.
curious about what's happening inside of them? Can they explore growth where they're growing?
And will they grow with us? Grow with me, right? Or if you see a sign that they're always trying to fix you, like that would be a sign. Like really, you'd be better off if you do A, B, and C. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's a red flag to turn around, but it would be something to pay attention to.
To pay
right?
attention to, yeah. I'm thinking too
Mhm.
of like inside of what we're talking about, there's also the ability to kind of like be with the emerging experience of feeling, right?
Mm.
There's this because what happens in the places where we're more shut down to this experience is that we're kind of saying no to those opportunities to even get to know ourselves or to get to know our partners or for our partners to get to know us, right? Like the lack of vulnerability is like the shutting down of those emerging experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So somebody, I'd be curious to be with somebody who can ride those waves, even if they're feeling a wave of shame or a wave of remorse or regret or some other kind of big, hard feeling. That's cool. We can be with hard things together, right? I want to know that I'm with someone that we can do hard things together.
That's that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This question excites me so much.
Totally. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you.
Well, I was just thinking of something Stan Tatkin said one time in a training that I was with him, and I really agree with him. He said another thing to do is early enough. If you're really looking for red flags, of course, we don't want to look so much for red flags. We're not present, right? That's one thing.
Right.
I guess I got distracted with my own thought, but sometimes we can look for red flags, and then we're not really in the experience. We're analyzing the experience. And so then it's really hard for you to feel how you feel about somebody because you're like looking for all the warning signs. And this doesn't sound like her, but one of the things Stan Tatkin recommended is that when you're dating somebody and you've decided you like them, but before you've decided you really like them, introduce them to your friends. Because
your friends are going to see stuff.
Yes.
And you're going to see how they get along. Yeah. If they
isn't,
yeah. I'm thinking of it like an energetic odor almost kind of thing, right? Like when you bring new people around your friends, they know something about how they feel in this person's presence, and you can read that off of them, and it gives you more information.
Yeah, and you want to do that before you like really get to it, because if you're like in it and I have chosen,
then if I tell you that this doesn't feel good to me, you're not going to hear me because you've already chosen.
No.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. You're not going to hear it. Once you're really in it, you're not going to hear it. You're going to rationalize for them. You're going to ignore them, or you're going to get mad at them. Right.
Exactly.
And so if you do it before you do it, you like them enough to introduce them to your friends, but you don't like them so much, you can stay in that reflective part that you need to make a decision before your chemistry is,
I was just thinking too, you're doing another thing in there where you're being transparent with the people in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you're not hiding something from the people that are in your inner circle. And that also feels important. It feels integrating to me. Like it feels real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking how important it is as we're talking about this presence. So when you're talking about, do you have any advice for how to be in my early relationship building space? It would be a lot about presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An open plane of possibility, a lot of curiosity, not just towards what you're experiencing in this other person, but also towards you, your body, what's getting pulled in you with this person. What are those little subtle shifts inside of you? So really big presence and curiosity towards you, and big presence of curiosity towards them, so that you can catch those red flags if they are coming. And that doesn't mean run. It may mean explore.
That's right.
And learn more.
Yeah. Reflect. That's so true. Yeah. And I think there's this part of us too that, given that she's divorced, right? So there's one thing about finding a relationship when you're 62. It's another thing when you're divorced and we don't know the history of this person. But it's funny when you were saying that earlier, Vicki, that you kind of didn't want to repeat. So you thought of what you didn't want to repeat, and that was what was on your list. I was thinking, oh no. But then you said it beautifully, like, no, it was these really particular values and things. And I love that. But I think sometimes one thing I want to say is like, don't look for the opposite of what you were thinking that's going to be the answer. I think oftentimes we're trying to not date our ex. And that externalizes the whole experience.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
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 So good luck with your dating. I am
Yes.
so thrilled. I feel like, oh yay, I'm on this journey with you. I hope your next date goes really well.
I know.
Have fun.
Yeah, totally. I want you to
Yeah.
totally have a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you all next time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at one of our workshops. You'll find our next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you can ask us your questions?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.
And here's some gratitudes. Thanks to Al Hoberman, our sound editor and podcast production magic maker.
Thanks to every one of you who has joined us for our workshops in the past. We've learned so much from all of you.
And thanks to everyone who's reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews help others to find the show.
Take care of each other best you can.
See you next time.